Barry Lindo here with an exclusive. The mayor of Knox County, Glenn Jacobs. Thank you for joining us. But wait a minute, I believe we're in Missouri.
Yeah.
And you're mayor of Knox County, Tennessee. What are you doing here tonight?
So I'm here with the Americans for Prosperity. We're going to talk about torching the income tax. It's in Missouri. We've already torched it in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So, but I grew up in this area. Okay. I grew up by Bowling Green, Missouri. So
okay, this thing I'm familiar with the territories. Is it ironic this close to tax day that you're?
Yeah, it sure is, right? Yeah, my least favorite day of the year, April 15th.
I think it's a lot of Americans' least favorite day. Well, mine especially. Well, let's get to it. Do you see a pathway for Missouri to get to a place without income tax?
Yeah, there's always a pathway. It's just if there's the political will to do it. Again, we did it in Tennessee. We basically, there was a fight in the early 2000s over the income tax, and some folks wanted to implement that, and there was tremendous pushback, so we never did that in Tennessee. Now we have a constitutional amendment, which the voters ratified a couple of years ago, so we can never have an income tax in Tennessee. Our economy has boomed.
Okay.
Of that, we just have businesses coming in, businesses expanding. Part of the reason I was in WWE and I could have lived anywhere in the country, and part of the reason I stayed in Tennessee was because there's no state income tax. A lot of other reasons, but it's certainly beneficial in that respect. And you see that Florida, Texas, the other states that don't have an income tax, it's just very advantageous.
Of course, Tennessee, one of 8 states without an income tax, and that was going to be my next question. What do you say to the critics that say, this is going to hurt the prosperity of the state, the decreased revenue?
Oh, yeah.
There's got to be the opposite. What do you say to that?
Well, you take money out of people's pockets and it's going to hurt them. No, I don't think so. Again, it's basically prioritizing the political will to do it. You'll hear, oh gosh, what's going to happen with the roads? The roads aren't funded with the general fund in most states. You either have a gas tax, tire tax, whatever. And that's actually what funds the roads. That's how we do it in Tennessee. So there are ways to fund government, and ultimately, it's how big do we want government, and what do we want it to be doing? Government would love to take all of your money and just say, hey, we're doing all these really cool things. But I believe the government should be confined to a very few things, do those well, and then you don't need all this.
Gotcha. Well, that answers my next question. Would you tell us a little bit about this group that you're partnering with, again, kind of their initiative that they're trying to promote?
AFB is actually a national group. They do that wonderful work around the country, just policy advocacy. But they're conservative as far as low taxes, less regulation, all those sort of things that I'd like to see. I've worked with them on some other things in Tennessee as well. We just got school choice in Tennessee, and they were a big proponent of that, and one of the major organizations helping to get that through. So a great group. They do wonderful.
Now, it seems like your vision aligns very similar with recently elected Governor Kehoe. Have you spoke with him? Have you guys had talks about
I'm actually meeting with him tomorrow. Okay, looking forward to it.
Very cool. Yeah, I was at his inauguration. It was a very cold day. I mean, of course, you being in Tennessee, you know what it was.
Well, yeah.
That cold.
Cold days in Missouri. I had quite a few of those.
I agree, exactly.
Yeah.
You can experience 4 seasons of weather literally in Missouri.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Well, my next question: what's next for you after mayor of Knox County?
I don't know at this point.
Okay.
Whatever God puts in my way, right? Wherever you position.
Yeah.
I got into politics. I didn't really ever find out all those people. Oh gosh, I can't wait to get into this. Really, for me, it was just about doing what I could to ensure that my kids have opportunities. I'm a product of the American brain. I want to make sure that stays alive for another generation.
And I will say this: my brother-in-law lives in Knoxville and talks about this man eating local. I think every Friday you're around, they see you around, you experience this. So he knows what he's talking about as far as the economic prosperity, because you're there. You're not one of those people that just talks about it. You're out there in the community. So John Tilton, there you go. There's your plug. So you're talking about being thrust into politics. Now let me ask you this: rich history of pro wrestling. I mean, and you started from the beginning, Smoky Mountain. You drive at the circuit.
Actually, before that, I was wrestling around here. My first ever match was at the part of St. Charles Banquet Hall, which was right across. It was back then. It was called Stegton Banquet.
Okay.
It's my first ever match. I spent a few years. So
You really are.
oh yeah, and then moved on. Went to Puerto Rico. Then talking about wrestling. That's you found my way to that different.
Yeah, all those years. How is pro wrestling and the stuff behind the curtain, without however much you want to get into it, how is that like politics?
It's not as much as people think. A lot of folks think, oh, everybody's throwing a persona, and, putting on a good fight for the crowd, and then we're all friends behind the scenes. That's not really the case.
Wow, okay.
Now, like in Knox County, the local level, I get along with all of our commissioners. We have 3 Democrats on commission. I'm a Republican. But they're good people. And then they're also not like the crazy left wing that the National Party has become. These are just, they care about the community too. Now we're going to disagree on some issues. That's okay. But so much of it, just at the national level, it's almost like if WWE was really real life.
Yeah.
That's what it's become. It's very unfortunate. One big difference is in WWE is we were on the same team.
Right.
They're not on the same team. Washington. I would say they're not on the American team anymore.
There's some true heels.
They're the actual pillars.
Sounds like actually just DC.
That's exactly right.
While you're DC, do you ever have any kind of weird interactions with Secretary of Education? I know you guys kind of have a history.
Yeah, back in the day, I had to talk her into school choice. But now Linda's gonna do a great job. And eventually, I hope she works her way out of her job. That's what she's there for.
That's amazing stuff. Well, again, Mayor of Knox County, Glenn Jacobs, talking here in St. Charles, torching income tax, or I guess the words kangaroo, choke slamming taxes to hell. Very Linda. Right here.